Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Look at this headline from you today. XRP trading volume suddenly up 542%. What's happening? Yes, well, this jumped up, and there were no shortage of individuals within the XRP community who thought perhaps this meant that some secret testing was going on. And anytime there's some sort of outlier data point that people don't understand, there's always going to be a certain percentage of community members that go to spectacular land, maybe more on the conspiracy side, you might say, and think whatever the most extraordinary explanation for it is, that's probable. I operate differently in life. When I see something that appears to be spectacular, I presume that there's actually more likely than not anyway, not always, but more likely than not, a reasonable explanation for what we are seeing. But again, everybody's brains look a little bit different. Now, when it comes to this, we actually did get to the bottom of it. Additionally, beyond that, and I want to highlight a separate thing that happened just a few weeks ago. I talked about it on Twitter, but it is worth highlighting, especially since another similar type thing had come up here. It's worth talking about all up on the YouTubes here. Because the question was, is there major proof that XRP was secretly tested in Ripple's Liquidity Hub? Was it right in front of our faces the whole time? Some people actually think that the answer is yes, and I think that that's a little bit silly. Not to disrespect anybody, but I think that a lot of the reason that people were thinking that is because there's quite a misunderstanding of what Ripple's Liquidity Hub even is. So I want to break this down here. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, since I'm challenging ideas here, I'm going to do the same thing I do in every video where I challenge ideas. I want to make it super-duper crystal clear. None of this is to be perceived as a personal attack against anybody or anyone's ideas that I talk about in this video. It absolutely, unequivocally, that is not what is going on here. I am challenging some of their ideas because I think that some of the ideas are bad, but the people, all of them, they seem like perfectly good people so far as I can tell. It's not about them as individuals, but I do think some of these ideas are bad. And especially when you're talking about some of these ideas coming from the most well-known, content creators, if you will, and if you want to use the icky word, influencers in the XRP community, I think it's fair game for any of us that have followings like that to have our ideas challenged. And not only that, everybody should want that. Even the people with the massive followings, we should all want that. Because the goal should be as a community to work towards the truth. And it's okay to think so-and-so might be true and then to be wrong and then to correct that and then have a proper belief and move forward. That's what we should all be striving for. And so I encourage all of you to challenge my ideas as well. As long as it's being done respectfully, I'm all for it. So I just want to get that out of the way. And the reason I do that every time I make a video where I challenge ideas is because I understand human nature. And when people get their ideas challenged, it's very common for people to take it as an affront against them, some sort of personal attack, and I swear on my life that's not what this is. I have fun talking about this stuff. I have fun when my ideas are respectfully challenged, and I debate, not everybody's like this. I think debate's fun as long as it's civil. I love sharing ideas. All right, so anyway, that's enough of that. Now let's go ahead and move forward. So this 542% up in terms of XRP trading volume. Now note this. Before the recent XRP price pump from about 32 cents to 55 cents, before that, a normal daily volume, 24-hour volume for XRP was, it bounced around a bit, but you could say, somewhere in the neighborhood of $600 million to $700 million. Now, when the excitement happened and all eyes were on XRP as it was pumping up to 55 cents recently, well, then the volume spiked to somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5, maybe $2.6 billion over a given 24-hour period of time. And it started to trail down a little bit after that, but it was still pretty high, and even in recent days. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it went from that, 2.5 billion-ish, all the way up to a high of a little over 26 billion, if memory serves. 26 billion. So from 2.5-ish billion to 26 billion? That's insane. What's going on there? And I saw this as it was happening in real time, and I didn't know either. Now, I tweeted this out. Now, mind you, perhaps a lot of times when people ask this question, it's assumed that they're thinking that there actually might be some sort of spectacular explanation. I tweeted out a question, which is on your screen. I'll read it in a second. I was actually assuming from the beginning, because I'm a very skeptical creature by nature, I assumed there was a rational explanation. But I still wanted to know what it was. And so I tweeted out the following. And this is on September 30th. And it was in response to somebody who asked, Jordan Holt said, why is no one talking about XRP 18 billion volume right now? And by the way, so it was 18 billion at the time, it jumped up to 26 billion. So I retweeted that and wrote, good question. Anyone know why XRP 24-hour volume is hovering around 18 billion right now? A couple weeks ago, it was 600 to 700 million. And when XRP pumped around 55 cents, I think it peaked around 2.5 billion. About 2 hours ago, there was a dramatic jump. CoinMarketCap and Live Coin Watch both show. And I don't have screen grabs of that now, but you could see the volume just instantly out of nowhere spiked up through the roof, right? And so then somebody named J. Red Boaki, nailed it. That person said, I'd love to hear what you think it could be. And so I wrote the following. I wrote this about a little over 20 minutes after I posted that tweet. I wrote, because again, just asking, what do I think it is? And I wrote, incorrect data being reported for some reason. And that was my suspicion from the beginning. And that is what it was. That is absolutely. Now, so there's no shortage of people thinking, oh my God, who's going to do the pumping right now? Who's doing this? Some sort of secret Ripple thing going on. And that was not the case. And so there was a separate thread. Alex Cobb was questioning this too. And so I just noted the following. I wrote, I was tweeting about this last night. When considering anything spectacular, my starting point is that of a skeptic. There is typically a rational explanation for things that seem quite extraordinary. Some people do the opposite and jump to conspiracies. And that is true. I find my way, just the way I am by nature, I just think that, and this is my experience in life too, the vast majority of times something wacky and just curious, seemingly unexplainable occurs, I jump to, okay, there's probably a rational explanation. And almost always there is. Invariably, I just don't know it at that given moment in time. Because otherwise, all these people, like the people that are on the opposite side, it's like, how are you the one human out there that is constantly uncovering all these incredible things, these conspiracies, and they're so true, except they're almost never true. Conspiracies can be real. Like they can be found out to be true. I'm not saying they can't. Of course they can. I'm just saying the vast majority of the time that wacky stuff happens, no. They sure are not. And here was a screen grab shared by Mark Lewis, a member of the XRP community, who is showing right here in case you want to see it. 24-hour volume peaked at around 26.52 billion, which is wacky stuff. So what actually caused this? As it turns out, there was a cryptocurrency exchange called B2BX. And I don't have the full explanation as to why their data was wrong, but they started their platform for some reason was reporting outrageous XRP volume. And so you got to understand what Live Coin Watch and CoinMarketCap do and other websites. They're pulling data that's given to them. So if they're given false data, they're going to report the false data because it's all automated. They're just taking the data that's given. And then if there's an error on the side of the exchange needs to fix that. So the exchange was reporting for a reason unknown to us that it's outrageous volume, and it went on for a little over 2 hours, and then it was immediately corrected, and the volume went back to the real level. That was it. So is it. So like my suspicion, again, there was something completely rational to explain this, and other people's brains went elsewhere. Just another example. Now let's talk about this, though, and this one's more wild. Sit back. I hope you guys can have time to stick with me through the rest of this video, because this one's more wild and much more interesting in my humble opinion. So look, a few weeks ago, my fellow XRP YouTuber Brad Kimes of the YouTube channel Digital Perspectives has asked a question. He'd asked a question that has gigantic implications if the answer is yes. And that question is, did an XRP community member just find proof that Ripple used XRP in a massive Liquidity Hub payment test? If so, then Ripple just pushed the number of transactions executed on the XRP ledger from 1.7 million in one day to over 5 million the next day, which has never happened before in the entire history of the XRP ledger. Now, many in the community got very excited at such a thought, speculating that the answer is indeed yes. And I went through the thread. There were a lot of people that said, oh, yes, this must be what it is. There's no research done, no curiosity. Could there be a rational explanation? There are a lot of people, oh, yes, this was it. And it's been just instantly believed that this is a likely sign of incredible XRP adoption as a bridge currency. However, I personally believe that all of this indicates a notable lack of understanding of what Ripple's Liquidity Hub is, as well as its origins. And I'll state my case, and all of you can decide what you believe the truth is. And so again, I'll say it one more time. This is not an attack on the individuals that have those ideas. I'm challenging the ideas because I think the ideas are bad and wrong. And they can think that mine are bad and wrong. If they tell me my ideas are bad and wrong, as long as they're not being rude about it, I'm not offended. It's all good. You can tell me my ideas are bad and wrong, articulate your position, all good. But you know what's being discussed here ultimately? I'll pull it up in a second here, but this, November 21st, 2021. Look at this. It looks like a needle sticking out of this chart. This chart here on your screen from XRP Scan shows the number of transactions executed on that day. Look at that huge spike just for that day. Sunday, November 21st, 2021. Well, that's a little peculiar. That is an outlier data point. It's worth investigating. I'll see that point most certainly. So let's go ahead and dig on into this. There's an XRP community member who goes by the name 24 Hours Crypto. And he put out a video, and a clip of that video was shared by Brad Kimes of the YouTube channel Digital Perspectives. And in this clip, I'll just try and kind of summarize it. There are dots connected that I must respectfully state do not deserve to be connected. Having to do with Ripple's announcement of Liquidity Hub, G20, basically like financial roadmap for various things, this and that. There are all sorts of dots out there that I don't think it remotely makes sense to connect. But Digital Perspectives YouTube channel operator Brad Kimes thought that perhaps there could be something to this, and so he posed the question on his Twitter profile, and he wrote, "Did 24 Hours Crypto just find evidence of Ripple Liquidity Hub payment test using XRP?" And so I saw this, and I just wanted to engage in thoughtful discourse, which I most certainly did, and it got some conversation going, so that was fun. And this is on September 9th. But I have, not that I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I do think it's incorrect to go down this path, and I articulate in great detail the reason why, which is what thoughtful individuals should do. If you disagree with somebody, you respectfully and thoughtfully plot out your case why, and then give them an opportunity to respond. And I didn't hear anything back from 24 Hours Crypto or Brad Kimes on this, but other people did respond, and we may have even gotten to the bottom of this, actually. And so if you can stick around to the very end of the video, you'll see why this spike happened, perhaps. Because the creator of the XRP Rich List, he dug into it a little bit, and he seems to think that what I was thinking might be the case, he thinks that that is the case, actually. So just stick with me, and you'll see why that needle stuck up there if you got the time to stick around. And I do appreciate all the support, so thanks. I know this video might be a little bit longer. Maybe it's not. We'll see. When I start recording, to be honest, I never know for sure how long these videos are going to go. Sometimes my guesses are like way off. But anyway, so here was my response to that. I wrote, "I watched the clip, and I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what Ripple's Liquidity Hub is, as well as its history. While the initial announcement of the commercial version of Liquidity Hub from Ripple came on November 9th, 2021, Ripple had actually been using that same technology for nearly 2 years prior to source XRP for on-demand liquidity." So let's pause to note, again, that announcement, November 9th of last year, 2021. Then the spike came in terms of transactions just 12 days later, November 21st, 2021. And so those two unrelated points were tied together by 24 Hours Crypto. And they are unrelated. I still firmly believe that. And again, with all respect, I think that's wrong. But that's what was happening. And so I just want to make sure everybody understands what was going on here. And then there were additional dots around that time period having to do with G20 and their claims about roadmap for finance, this and that. And so anyway, I shared this screen grab. And this is from an article. It reads as follows. RippleNet GM Ashish Burla explained that we have been successfully using the same crypto sourcing technology to support Ripple's on-demand liquidity product for nearly 2 years. And now, in response to customer demand, Ripple is making this proven resource available as a customer-facing product for 2022 and beyond. So again, a key point to take away from that particular tweet is that Liquidity Hub, the technology that makes up what Liquidity Hub is, had been in use for 2 years prior. We just didn't know it. We did not know it's the technology that they were Ripple was internally using to source XRP for on-demand liquidity. Then they thought, you know what? We've got customers that might want to source cryptocurrency, XRP, but also other cryptocurrencies. Maybe our customers might benefit from this particular technology. What could we? If we're going to make it a consumer-facing product for our customers, like what should we call it? Oh, we'll call our technology Liquidity Hub, and that's it. It's just a sourcing technology. And so now that's what the announcement was on November 9th of 2021. And then my thread continues. Given that Ripple had been using this technology for so long prior to the announcement, it seems strange that they would then feel the need to suddenly test their system when they already know it works and had been using it. The concept that this data indicates Ripple was testing Liquidity Hub breaks down further when you consider that the transactions that 24 Hours Crypto reported in his video are transactions that are occurring on the XRP ledger itself. Liquidity Hub is all about sourcing liquidity, whereas the chart shown in the video was number of transactions executed, which of course is reporting the quantity of transactions executed and has nothing to do with sourcing liquidity. So I'll pause and note, just to be clear, that is the chart that I showed you just a couple minutes ago. And here I brought it back up on the screen for those of you looking. Number of transactions executed, November 21st, the spike. That's what it is. Okay, so that spike is showing transactions on the XRP ledger itself, the decentralized XRP ledger, that is separate from Ripple's sourcing technology, just to be clear. All right. And so let me just read that again. The concept of this data, the concept that this data indicates Ripple was testing Liquidity Hub breaks down further when you consider that the transactions that 24 Hours Crypto reported in his video are transactions that are occurring on the XRP ledger itself. Liquidity Hub is all about sourcing liquidity, whereas the chart shown in the video was number of transactions executed, which of course is reporting the quantity of transactions executed and has nothing to do with sourcing liquidity. Sourcing liquidity has nothing to do with the throughput of the XRP ledger. And so let's pause and note, when we're talking about throughput, it's how many transactions in a given moment can the XRP ledger actually happen. The idea, the concept of sourcing liquidity from a particular location has nothing to do with the throughput of the XRP ledger. These two concepts are completely unrelated, right? And so that's why I was saying, I think that to tie these together, there must be some sort of fundamental misunderstanding of what Liquidity Hub actually is. Otherwise, I don't know why you tie the dots together. And then my thread continues, and I wrote, XRP ledger throughput is already well understood. It is what it is, regardless of whether or not Ripple is using Liquidity Hub to help financial institutions find the most reasonable purchasing rates for various cryptocurrencies. What I'm saying is that these two things are unrelated. I think the purpose of Ripple's Liquidity Hub is misunderstood by many. It's not that Liquidity Hub uses XRP, it's that Liquidity Hub sources XRP and other cryptocurrencies as well. As Ripple themselves stated, and by the way, for those of you looking at the screen, you can see this. I shared a quote from the official Ripple Twitter account from March 26th of this year, and I quoted it in my own tweet. It reads as follows. This is from Ripple. Similar to Google Flights or Kayak aggregating the best travel prices, Ripple Liquidity Hub will enable partners to help their customers buy, sell, and hold crypto at optimized pricing. End quote. And so that's it. It's basically a portal that says, here are the available prices on various exchanges and so forth the world over. If you want to buy, go ahead. And if not, that's cool too. That's it. It's just Ripple's presenting the information. That's it. That's it. And then my thread continues. And I wrote, given that Ripple's Liquidity Hub will offer not just XRP, but also Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, and Bitcoin Cash. And that's true. I'll just pause and note. For those of you unaware, Liquidity Hub, it's not just an XRP thing. They're offering those cryptocurrencies to start to their customers, because their customers, if they're going to offer custody, because understand, Ripple's customers are like banks, financial institutions. Those banks and financial institutions may want to offer cryptocurrency custody solutions and selling to their customers. And so that's why it's not just XRP. It's because Ripple customers will want to source other cryptos because there's demand for other cryptos beyond XRP. Makes all the sense in the world. And you can use the same technology that they use to source XRP for on-demand liquidity to source other cryptocurrencies. It's the same thing. You just plug it in. And so again, given that, this is my thread now, given that Ripple's Liquidity Hub will offer not just XRP, but also Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, and Bitcoin Cash, why didn't we see similar spikes of activity on those blockchains for testing? Pause. Isn't that a pretty reasonable question? We saw this huge spike on the XRP ledger for transactions, but we didn't see anything even close to that on those blockchains on that date or any time around that date. There was no spike like that for those blockchains. Isn't that weird? If you're testing the Liquidity Hub, if you think that makes sense for some reason, wouldn't you test all of them? Just XRP? That doesn't make sense, does it? Anyway, then my thread continues. I think this further illustrates the point that Liquidity Hub is about sourcing cryptocurrencies regardless of the technical specifications of various blockchains. Many blockchains have greater throughput limitations than XRP Ledger, but again, these are already known factors. Liquidity Hub works regardless of the technical throughput limitations of various blockchains. So pause to think about this. Why would you need to test the XRP Ledger, because it's already a known factor in terms of throughput? We already know the XRP Ledger can handle about 1,500 transactions per second, right? Why would you even need to test that known quantity? That doesn't make any sense at all. Because regardless of the throughput of the XRP Ledger, regardless, if it were higher, if it were lower, regardless, Liquidity Hub would still source XRP. Liquidity Hub, it doesn't care what the throughput is of XRP or Bitcoin or Ethereum Classic. It can be fast, it can be slow, it doesn't matter. That doesn't need to be tested. Whether the blockchain's fast or slow, fine. That's what I'm saying. These are completely unrelated ideas. That's why, again, like I keep saying, there seems to me to be a very fundamental misunderstanding of what Liquidity Hub is in order to make these claims or to think that they're even plausible to question. You've got to be missing key pieces of information, I think. My thread continues. All of these blockchains have been processing transactions for many years. You may then be wondering, what is it that caused this dramatic spike in transactions executed on November 21st, 2021? I don't have a certain answer, but I have a suggestion as to where it may make sense to focus our attention. There was a wild jump in XRP account creation from roughly October through December of 2021. This was due to an absurd amount of XRP Ledger airdrops that were being created at the time. Tens of thousands of accounts were created by people wishing to receive these airdrops. You can see here that, here, I'll make this chart full screen for those of you looking. You can see here that November 21st, 2021 was a day where every metric on XRP scan was an outlier, including new accounts, so not just transactions executed. So pause to think about this. Not only did we not see spikes on November 21st on other blockchains, it was just on the XRP Ledger. It wasn't just for that one metric on the XRP Ledger. It wasn't just for the transactions. It was also for the number of new accounts created. But you don't need to create new accounts to test the throughput. You got 21,000 accounts. Do you see this? 21,251 accounts created on November 21st. You don't need to create new accounts to test the throughput of the XRP Ledger. And now again, of course, Liquidity Hub, it's not even testing that. And it wouldn't matter. The throughput of the XRP Ledger doesn't matter for Liquidity Hub. It doesn't matter if it's fast or slow. It just exists. It just sources. So again, all this breaks down further the more you understand Liquidity Hub and just, ask a few simple questions. It just breaks down very quickly here. So, so there's multiple outliers, multiple metrics that day on the XRP Ledger. Then my thread continues. If anyone thinks that the jump in account transactions represents secret XRP transactions by Ripple, do you also then believe that Ripple created upwards of 21,000 new accounts on the XRP Ledger that day? If so, how would the creation of these new XRP accounts test Liquidity Hub in any way? I think it's obvious this is unrelated, and that there is there is another reason for the data that's being reported by XRP Scan. Note that there was also a gigantic increase in trust lines being set up in order for XRP account holders to receive the airdrops in question. And this resulted in very serious scaling issues for the XRP Ledger at that time. And I'll just pause to note here, here's a video that I put out on November 30th of 2021 titled XRP Ledger Scaling Issue Causing Problems Today. I covered this in great detail over a span of, maybe several videos over several days, something to that effect. And it wasn't even about transactions. It's about how the XRP Ledger is basically getting clogged up because so many freaking trust lines were getting created because of all these airdrops that were occurring in the last quarter of last year. That's really what it was. All right. And then my thread continues. Yeah, there we go. Not because XRP Ledger can't handle in a vacuum up to 1,500 on-chain transactions per second, but because it was congested over this period of time by lots of other activity. XRP Ledger developer Wietse Win tweeted on this topic multiple times on and around November 30th, 2021. And the tweet's on your screen right there, which in part reads as follows. Sorry, people, we're already working around the clock. The XRP Ledger can't handle the current load well. The amount of trust lines and tokens has exploded beyond numbers expected/tested. XRP Ledger public nodes clusters are being scaled up, but that isn't ready yet. So there you go. So this is a known issue. It had been going on, again, for weeks, even before the November 21st. And so then I wrote, by this time, the issue had been known to XRP Ledger developers for weeks, and many worked behind the scenes diligently, seeking a solution for the rest of us, most of whom were blissfully unaware of the technical hurdles. I don't pretend to have the answers for the outlier transaction data that occurred on November 21st, 2021, but I am wondering if it may have something to do with that. I think that makes way more sense than supposing the cause was Ripple secretly doing Liquidity Hub related tests. I definitely don't have all the answers, so if anyone can fill in the gaps or correct me if I got anything factually incorrect, that would be appreciated. Engaging in thoughtful discourse as a united XRP community is the best way to get closer to the truth. And that's the end of my thread. So again, and I still don't know 100%, but I will say Francis Bovine Swift, who created the XRP rich list, he responded to my thread and he wrote the following. Matt, to follow up on your information, I went back in time. No, really, I went back to the ledger on the 21st of November, 2021. Most of the transactions of the type payment are, as you said, wait for it, trust-lined tokens. And so there you go. And I don't know that that's the totality of the explanation of it. Maybe it is. I'm literally saying I don't know. I am not a know-it-all. I do not have all the answers. But I do feel very confident that tying together that outlier data point on November 21st, tying that data point to Ripple announcing Liquidity Hub with that technology having been around for 2 years, and tying it to that announcement on November 9th, it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. So that's it. Just want to share with you the knowledge that I have. I never pretend to know everything. I really don't. I learned tons from the community, but this is I really do believe this. All of this should be a community effort. I share what I know, not knowing everything. I learn from you. You share what you know, and then we're all better for it. That's what I'm talking about. So that's it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, but I will go ahead and wrap up here. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.